sorry for the delay. We weren't able to unmute ourselves. So hi everyone, and welcome to the session on Pearls for International Medical Graduates. My name is Kim Naja. I'm a fourth-year medical student at the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. So I'm actually a soon-to-be foreign medical graduate myself. As most of you hopefully are, I'm really passionate about radiology, and I'm going to be your moderator for this session. So as we get started, if you guys could just start asking your questions in the chat box, and I will start collecting them. And I believe that Dr. Bergruen has prepared a quick presentation for us. After that, we'll be able to answer all of your questions. So with us today are our three amazing panelists. We have, I hope you guys could see them on the screen. We have Dr. Santa Bergruen. She's an associate professor of radiology and medical education at the Northwestern University. She's also the vice chair for education and diversity in the Department of Radiology. We also have Dr. Jennifer Nicholas. She's a pediatric radiologist at the University Hospitals of Cleveland Medical Center, where she is the division chief of pediatric radiology, and she's also the vice chair of education. Finally, we have Dr. Tuche Aguilar Chabzonlu, who is also an assistant professor of radiology at the Northwestern University. She actually completed her medical school and residency in Turkey, and then she went on to complete 4 fellowships at Northwestern University. So you can get all of your alternative pathways questions ready. I'll just let now our panelists say hello and feel free to add a few words, and then we can go on to Dr. Bergruen's presentation. And hopefully after that, we will answer all of your questions.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Kim, for that wonderful introduction. I don't actually have a presentation per se, but I thought I would just kind of give an overview of the different pathways, primarily 2 pathways that international medical graduates can get into practicing radiology or training in radiology in the United States. And one, of course, is after successfully completing medical school, that would be applying to radiology residencies. And we certainly have a number of candidates that have applied to our program in Northwestern and to other programs that program directors that I've met along the long PD trail. So you can apply directly to residency and do a year of clinical training in the United States, and then matching into primarily diagnostic radiology. There are very few international medical graduates that match into interventional radiology for medical school, but more that match into a diagnostic radiology residency. And then, of course, there's the ABR alternate pathway. It's a 4-year pathway that departments are supporting international medical graduates that have completed medical school, have done a year of clinical training in their homeland, as well as completed residency and are certified to practice radiology in their homeland. They can apply then to different various radiology departments across the United States to do 4-year fellowships such as what Tuche did. We're very lucky to have her. Tuche, do you want to jump on now?
Yes, sure. Kim, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, as you mentioned, I am from Turkey. I finished my medical school and my radiology residency back in there. And then I came here, and after having ECFMG certificate, I've done 4 fellowships consecutively. One was a research year. I did the CT research, and then I've completed cardiac, thoracic, and body imaging fellowships. And so then this August I started working as an attending at Northwestern. So for basically what the alternate pathway is, you need to finish your residency back in home country, and if you want to do an alternate pathway, you should the ECFMG certificate, have an ECFMG certificate, and you should complete 4 fellowships in consecutive years and in the same institution. So I will be happy if you have some questions for this pathway.
Thank you. We actually already have one question, if anyone wants to answer. So how do you build your competitiveness to match into radiology?
I'm assuming the question is to match into a radiology residency. Well, it is a competitive field in the United States. In our department at Northwestern, we had 1,300 applications for 10 positions. So it is competitive. Having said that, though, I think a medical student or an applicant, a successful applicant, is one who has demonstrated a true commitment to radiology, having done some radiology research that has come into different various departments, whether it's a clerkship or electives, and shadowing physicians and building connections with radiologists. Also attending radiology meetings, if that at all is possible. I know that with COVID, many things were virtual, but now a lot of societies are going back to in-person meetings and kind of networking with faculty and trainees as well at these various meetings, whether you're actually presenting research or just attending to kind of network. I think that also helps. Having a strong personal statement and showing a documented history of being a productive, engaged learner during medical school, that is very important. We look at the letters of recommendation. You know, some places, as you guys know, USMLEs are not going to have any scoring, particularly for the first USMLE test. But you know, there are many other metrics that we are using now and having a holistic approach to reviewing the applicants and thinking outside of the box, that it's not only the prestige of the school or your grades, but what else have you demonstrated in your life story that shows that you're a resilient but very proactive learner. I don't know if Jennifer wants to jump in as Vice Chair of Education.
Well, hello. Hi. Thanks, guys, for letting me join you. Sorry, I'm joining you from my car, so I can't get the video. I pulled over, but I can't get the video function to work. So I'm a pediatric radiologist, and I just want to put on everyone's radar that pediatric radiology can be part of that alternate pathway. And I encourage you, if you have an interest in pediatric radiology, to explore children's hospitals where there's a strong partnership, as there is with Northwestern. I am actually in my car because I'm in the process of transitioning to be one of the be the chief of ultrasound at Cincinnati Children's, which is an institution where a lot of pediatric radiologists have gone through the alternate pathway, and they partner with the University of Cincinnati. So I'm here in Ohio. The vice chair position that I just left actually was at University Hospitals in Cleveland, associated with Case Western. We had a little bit of a challenge in implementing or in being able to provide the 4-year pathway because it's hard to have 4 fellowships that are what we call ACGME, and those are kind of officially, I don't know what the right word is, recognized by the Council of Graduate Medical Education versus fellowships that are still great training opportunities, but are not as tightly aligned with the ACGME. So it's really important to kind of ask those questions, as well as whether or not how many of the slots are ACGME and how many of them are not, because sometimes that can get a little bit complicated in putting together a 4-year package. One of the things I also came to realize is there are many institutions, especially in this kind of situation we're in now with staffing shortages, that will accelerate your process and potentially offer you the opportunity to be an attending after the 3rd or sometimes even 2nd year. I would just advise to look at that cautiously. You still have to prepare for the American Board of Radiology test, and jumping into an attending position early really uses up a lot of that time and bandwidth that you need to prepare for those exams. So while that might be a tempting offer, I would approach those opportunities cautiously. Anything else to add to that, Santa?
No, there are some departments that, like Jennifer said, that do offer the 4th year as an attending level position. But the other important thing, I think, is one, to find out what the visa status for various departments. Some departments are a little bit more robust in terms of giving H-1B visas. Others can only offer J-1 visas. So really understanding the dialogue of the different institutions and what they can offer you for your training during the 4 years is very important. But the other thing is, per ABR requirements, when a department is offering to start you along the alternate 4-year pathway, they have a commitment to give you a position for 4 years. Now, it is not a requirement. They can dismiss you if you're not progressing every year, but the chair is supposed to sign a letter stating that they will host you for 4 years if you're going with the ABR alternate pathway. So for instance, at Northwestern, we're in the process of setting up a program director and associate program director. So it's going to be very structured with the various sections that you want to potentially do your training in, so that the 4-year plan is definitely outlined: 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd, and 4th. So you know exactly what you'll be doing. Of course, if there are complications and you cannot fulfill the requirement of each year, it's not guaranteed, but it is certainly a commitment. And that is a requirement for all the chairs to offer and support a 4-year commitment. And having lack of funds is not an excuse to terminate their commitment with you. So it's just lack of performance or other conditions where they could dismiss you, but lack of funds is not a valid reason.
And Santa,
Okay.
in Illinois, what's the requirement for having a license? Like, do you have to have a full Illinois license to be able to participate in the 4-year pathway, alternate pathway?
No, you can have a
Okay.
J1 visa. That's a training visa, and so therefore you would not be able to be offered a position as a faculty or a staff if you have a J1 visa. If you have an H-1B visa, you can.
Okay.
I think it's after 2 years in the state of Illinois, but that's the other thing. Every state is quite variable in terms of how they will give you a license. So that's another thing to be cognizant.
Yes. Yeah, it adds another layer of complication. Something we definitely encountered at university hospitals was, particularly when you start to think of the difference between the ACGME and the non-ACGME spots. At least at our institution, they wanted the non-ACGME fellows to be able to support their salary by signing some studies one day a week or 20% as an attending. And if you can't get a full Ohio license, then you wouldn't be eligible for that. So that adds another layer of complication. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that across states, it's different.
Yes. For instance, at Northwestern, and Tuche is very aware of this, that if you're doing the 4-year alternate pathway, you cannot do any of those years in an ACGME accredited fellowship. Because in order to do an ACGME accredited fellowship, which this is fairly new, you have to have completed an ACGME accredited residency. And international medical graduates typically have not met that criteria, so therefore they're not eligible to do an ACGME accredited fellowship to satisfy any of the 4 years for the alternate pathway. So there are a lot of nuances with the visas and the different requirements, but the chair should be working with you and having one contact person to outline your 4-year pathway.
And Santa, for those ACGME accredited, is that the ACGME-I accreditation? That's the equivalent? No, it's an ACGME residency?
Correct. Oh, no, you can do an ACGME-I.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for answering this question. I think it was clear. We do have some more questions. How do you approach, what is a way to approach faculty to do research, radiology research as an international medical graduate?
Tuccia, you want to take that one?
Sure. So I see. So I know where this question comes from. It's for radiology, for IMG. It could be hard to find a research position that could also give you a visa sponsorship. But how I did and how my colleagues did was so you search, you broaden your search, and then I would definitely suggest people who are looking for research is look big institutions that have potential to do research and then have funds for research. And then for Northwestern, for example, how I found the for the research job is that I looked into their Northwestern website, and there was an opening for the research fellowship. So and then I applied it. So I recommend for you do the same, and look for big institutions that has research opportunities, and then look for if they are recruiting any people for their research fellowship.
Okay, thank you so much. We have one more question, which is kind of multiple questions at once. So what is the best way to approach faculty for electives or research? We already answered that. And how early? Do steps and previous experience come into play for research positions, since many IMGs do not have research in their medical school?
So of course, your prior background of research play a role in that. So if you have prior research experiences, that means that you're more familiar with what's going on with the research area. But so I wouldn't be very upset if you don't have any research experience and you don't have any you don't have any chance to do it. But of course, the more you have experience, the more your CV gets expanded and the more your chances increase. But yeah, so having research experience is important because you're applying for a research job. But I wouldn't be give up on this road because if you don't have any research. And I would always try to enhance your I suggest that enhancing your abilities and skills to have that kind of position.
The other thing I would add, like Tuccia, is just continue to correspond. If you sent in an application and you haven't heard back, send a follow-up email. That shows that you're very enthusiastic and you're a go-getter. And also, there are various societies have different modules and different meetings to discuss how to do research, like the Association of University Radiologists. They have a lot of online resources, RSNA, et cetera. So there are ways, even though your medical school may not offer you a structured approach to research, there's ways for you to learn it. And then I would add that in your email that you've done these modules and that you're very enthusiastic about initiating research and applying for the research fellowships.
To your knowledge, Santa, is there anywhere where those research fellowships are kind of listed or consolidated, or is it just kind of luck of the draw to who you reach out to? Like maybe even a Reddit post. Does anyone know if there's any resource like that?
No, unfortunately, it's not collated.
Yeah, kind of word of mouth at this point.
Yeah, looking at the big top 20 universities and training programs, because typically they have lots of research and funding to support, many different trainees.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like, yeah. And then Tucci, did you do anything at Children's or did you do everything at Northwestern proper?
No, I did all my fellowship training in Northwestern, which always, it was all adult, no pediatrics.
Okay, so unfortunately, the time is almost up. I believe we may have some time for one last question. If we are on a J1 research visa sponsored by an institution, can we rotate in any other institution?
I don't think so. I'm not for sure 100%, but I do not think that that would be allowed.
That's my understanding too. I mean, it looks like Jessie Ozaredic has joined. I don't know if she wants to comment quickly on her experience in doing some peds and some adult fellowships. And I don't know, is that still feasible? Is that still something people are doing?
From my understanding, that is no longer allowed because pediatric radiology is an ACGME accredited fellowship.
Thank you.
They cannot. So the only peds fellowships you can do if they are not ACGME accredited or there is no accreditation available for that particular fellowship. So for instance, we wanted to set up a PET CT or nuclear medicine fellowship, but it cannot, we're not going to set it up that way. It's going to be a molecular imaging fellowship because if it is, then it's eligible for ACGME accreditation, and therefore our ABR alternate pathway applicants could not do a year doing nuclear medicine imaging. So we've changed the name and we'll change some of the requirements for that fellowship, but it won't be a ACGME eligible.